almost like undermining myself and undermining the skill that I have in security. And they're all like, I'm the business owner of this, I'm the financial director of this, da da da. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a cybersecurity engineer. They're like, what? How do you do that? Like, that's phenomenal.
If you tell yourself that you know why you want to get into cybersecurity, your how becomes easy.
Even if no one else believed in you or wanted to give you the opportunity, you're like persistent. Like, you're gonna go knock on that door every single day until someone opens the door, or you're gonna climb over the door. Today I'm so excited to have Bekoko, also known as Mr. Fingers or That Security Guy. So he's a multi-award-winning children's author. Firstly, he's a cybersecurity professional. He's a content creator. He's a keynote speaker. He's based in South Africa. So definitely my hometown is rocking it out here. But we're going to talk about cybersecurity. We're going to talk about how he's making it fun and cool. But in today's episode, we're also going to talk a little bit more about entry-level cybersecurity certification, kind of what works, what doesn't, but more specifically about the ISC Squared Certified in Cybersecurity. This is Cybersecurity Uncomplicated with Cyberqueen, where we break barriers one chat at a time. No one has the exact roadmap, but together we're challenging stereotypes. We'll show you that cybersecurity is for everyone. We're bold, smart, and unapologetically diverse. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And that's such an amazing intro. You know, we see you, Cyber Queen. I'm super excited to be here as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get started. So can you tell us a little bit about who is Mr. Fingers?
100%. Thanks so much. So Mr. Fingers, his real name is Bekoko Makhetwane. So born and bred in South Africa in a small town in the East Rand in Nigel. So most people always wonder, where is Nigel? So it's a very small town and where everybody knows each other. So it's a type of town like that. And Mr. Fingers is a children's author, an award-winning children's author as well. That's cybersecurity guy. I love telling stories through my content because I truly believe that storytelling makes people engaged and it brings people together, because as people, we love that as well. And I just love sharing content and information with people. Whatever I learn, I want to share with people. But most importantly, I always try to share relevant and also correct content with people. So I'm a content creator throughout that. I'm a writer, I'm a speaker as well. I'm a podcaster as well, just like yourself. I do multiple things. I'm a creative as well. And also I'm a sound engineer as well. So I do multiple things. I wear many hats at the same time. So I'm super excited.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we legit, you know what I'm missing? I'm missing a drum roll. We're going to add a drum roll. I'm missing that. You're really super multifaceted. And I can tell you from my experience, I've just love watching specifically your videos on TikTok that you share around, like when it's the storytelling content, you know, this person that came from construction into cybersecurity, etc. What's the inspiration behind those videos? What makes you share that content and make cybersecurity so accessible for so many people?
100%. So taking from my story as well, right? Just to give you a bit of a background. So my story is I don't have any qualifications. I only have a matric certificate. That's the only thing I have. I don't have an A+. I don't have an N+. I don't have a CompTIA Security Plus. That's the craziest thing. But I've been in cybersecurity for over 5 years now. That's another thing, right? So how I got to obviously getting into cybersecurity, the story starts from me pivoting and going into radio, but I wanted to learn more about IT and infrastructure. Craziest thing is that I used to go to that radio station every single day. I would wait for the station manager and sit there. And I did that for months, doing that, waiting for that guy. That guy used to tell me every day, no, he's busy, he's in a meeting. And I've never met the guy face to face. And until the receptionist told me that, hey, this is the guy who's been looking for you for the past 4 months. He told the station manager. The station manager was like, you're the guy who's always waiting for me, yeah? Every day. I was like, yeah, every day. And yeah. And I just want to get this opportunity. The guy looked at me, he's like, okay, what opportunity do you want me to give you? Because if you don't know, I can't give you an opportunity. And I told him straight, listen, I see there's computers there and servers. I don't know what's going on. Can I just volunteer just to get inside there and just do whatever needs to be done? It's like, okay, come in tomorrow. Let's see if you'll be here by 8. Got there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was already there. I was fired up. And that's how my journey started, with just volunteering and just asking. And it grew to being where I am currently right now. And the whole storytelling thing is showing people that no matter what background you come from, you can still pivot and go into cybersecurity. It's all about having the grit, having the heart for it, and also be willing to learn. If you tell yourself that you know why you want to get into cybersecurity, your how becomes easy, right? Once you understand your why, your how becomes easy.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So firstly, a few things I pick up from there is dead on persistence, right? Even if firstly, no one else believed in you or wanted to give you the opportunity, you're like persistent. Like you're going to go knock on that door every single day until someone opens the door, or you're going to climb over the door, which I think is phenomenal. And definitely like it's a fundamental skill in security, right? You have to be able to have that grit and that persistence in order to kind of push for more and grow in the industry. But then I also note the fact that you're just like, even if I don't know what's going on, like the computers are there, I'm going to go and take those computers and I'm going to figure out what's going on. And there is this thing of like the figure out ability situation word that we kind of use in cybersecurity. Like your figure out ability levels have to be high because no 2 days are the same, no 2 issues are the same. Like it's a continuous challenge in a continuous world of unknown. But then I love the fact that you say you should know your why and then your how will follow. I mean, it's so important. I have, as part of my community, like I have 2 steps, which are the first steps. And it's like knowing your why is number 1. And like, how do you then go about it is number 2. Because of the fact that often people are like, why? Like, I don't want to take this knowing your why. I just want to know which certification I have to do, etc. But if you go on the journey without knowing why, it's a tough journey and it's an unusual journey. And if you don't know your why, you can't be persistent with the how, right? At least that's my experience. Like you have to know why you're doing it. It's also going to keep you consistent. It's going to keep you persistent in the journey.
And that's very true because what you are saying, and also shout out to you for building a community in cybersecurity and making sure it's accessible and whoever wants to come in as well can come in, whatever background they're coming from or whatever information. And also just say thank you to you as well for always replying and taking time to reply to every DM and to every message that people send you as well. I know sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I want to thank you from the community as well. Thank you for that as well. And because you're doing such a phenomenal job, and don't undermine yourself for doing such a phenomenal job, and trying to balance life and creating content is something which is not easy as well. I think that's something that we don't talk about a lot, especially for us content creators. How are you able to find balance in this whole situation?
For me, it's definitely a balance of firstly, why I create content, because in reality, it's very tough, as you know, to balance everything. But the reason why I do it is because I want to make cybersecurity accessible, information security, the secure digital space. I want to make it as accessible as possible. People think it's this far-fetched concept. And a few things that inspired me is that when I was in Joburg, I went to this women event. It was an event with all very good business, dynamic ladies. And I walked in there kind of almost like undermining myself and undermining the skill that I have in security. And they're all like, I'm the business owner of this, I'm the financial director of this, da. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a cybersecurity engineer. And, I said it with such like, yeah, I'm a cybersecurity engineer. So many ladies came to me throughout the event. They're like, what? How do you do that? Like, that's phenomenal. Like, what kind of education and skills and this much must you have? And after that event is when I went home and I said to my husband, who, by the way, has been pushing me for years to start sharing, but I was just too introverted. And I said to him, you know what, I think now is the time, because I just learned on that day that people don't know the beginning or the fundamental things of how accessible cybersecurity actually is. And therefore, we don't see more diversity, right? Therefore, we don't see people from many different backgrounds coming into the industry because of the fact that people don't know it's that accessible. And so it just started with kind of that little small thought of like the females at this event are like, oh, what? You're like a legend. I was like, no, it's just a normal job, So that's what inspired me. And from there, starting to build a community is really something else. It takes time from you, but it gives so much back to you as a person, in terms of positive energy, in terms of like what you get back from helping so many people, but also in terms of knowledge. Like, I want to be a creator that shares the most accurate knowledge and content with my community. If it's not accurate, if I don't believe in it, if I don't think it's the right thing, whether it's a certification, whether it's a partnership, whether it's whatever I do that helps my platform, if I don't believe in it, I'm not sharing it at all. I'm sharing things that I've done personally. And so for me, that means taking courses, even though I might not need them on my journey, but I take them so I can be honest.
I love that, and especially what you said in terms of, which I don't believe, that you're actually an introvert. Which is hard to believe because you do content, you share content, and you speak all the time. But I guess it's different because you shooting content, but you're forgetting that you're actually talking to thousands of people behind the camera as well, without you even knowing that. And I love what you said as well, and which I also truly believe in terms of sharing the right content, testing out certain things and certifications first before you can recommend them. And that also, I also do that in some of them. An example, if I don't have a particular certification, I talk to like 10 people which have it, and I interview them in the background, ask them about that. How did it go? What's that people can learn from this? And I create content into that as well. Because at the end of the day, as you said, we want to share content that is relevant, content that is true, and something that we believe can help and benefits people as well. And we don't want to share information that is unethical and untrue as well. And if you note, and now I see that there's so much information about cybersecurity that people end up being so confused. That's the thing. In this community that we're trying to build communities which can direct people to obviously the right path. But again, knowing your why, your how becomes easy.
Absolutely. This is going to become our motto, like the title. So let me ask a little bit before we go into this certification talk that we're going to talk about today. But let me ask a little bit. So what is your role currently in security, and what has the journey been like since you moved into security?
100%. So that's actually a great question. Jumping into security, my first role was being a information security engineer. And then I worked in the SOC. And then again, I worked in another SOC, changing jobs. And I worked as a senior security engineer. And currently right now, I just moved to a new position, which is now I am a IT security and infrastructure manager now. So It's a much more bigger role.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's progress and growth as well. I think it's the hunger that I've always had. And for me, I'm a person who, when my friends know me, I don't like titles. I'm the type of person who doesn't like titles. I'm always keeping my head in the ground. And until one of my friends was like to me, I think on Saturday, this past weekend, a friend of mine was like, dude, have you looked at your journey, how far you've come? Where most people it would take them 15 years, 18 years, for you, it's just taking you a short space of time because you've worked so hard. And I was like, actually, sometimes we actually don't look at our achievements until somebody actually reads them out to you, or you take time to be like, oh, I have actually achieved this and I need to appreciate what I've achieved as well. And yeah, just actually saying all of this, it makes me think about, wow, this is amazing. It's been a journey, but just keeping the grind and just grinding all day.
That definitely happens. The reflection, like when you have to say your journey out loud and your milestone out loud, the reflection is so important. And like me, even hearing your journey, I'm like, whoa, like you've really that's been a journey that's not even like this, it's not this straight flat line. It's like you've been on an incline this entire time, which I think, given your persistence and your tenacity, is like so well deserved. And I fully agree with you in terms of the titling. Even having moved abroad now from SA to Copenhagen, where I live now, I can tell you that the titles, the roles, the market, it's so different. It's so different when considering, like, in here you might be a senior person or a senior architect, but then you go back to South Africa, then you might be kind of maybe mid-level SME in that type of role. So it definitely is about the skills that you have. That's the primary thing. Your ability to do the work, I would say, is really important. And then that's what's going to put you at whatever level you need to be financially, with a salary, and when it comes to inside of the organization, over and above a title. But when you do progress like you have throughout your career and through your journey, and you have now taken on this big responsibility and the bigger role, that is super commendable and something to be proud of. So congrats. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. And there's something which you actually brought up, which I actually love what you said, moving to different countries, because I always say in some of my videos is that different companies and different countries offer different opportunities. It's different. And what my country might offer in another country might be different. And what a title in my country might be, in another country, it might be named differently. But you get that you still do the same job, the same thing, but you get paid maybe in that country, maybe a higher amount. In my country, they might pay you a lower amount because it depends again on inflation on that particular country that you're working in. I think one of the questions which I always get, and I'm sure you always get this one as well: how much do I get paid in cybersecurity?
Yes. Like, it depends. Like, the answer is literally like, it depends on this long list of factors, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Because everybody was like, how much would I get paid in cybersecurity if I join cybersecurity? How do you answer such questions though?
Yeah, no, there's a whole long list. It's like depending where you live, what you do, what skills do you have, like what education do you have by now? Because I mean, also thinking about it a little bit now, even when I started in security, like certifications were not even a thing, right? There was no cybersecurity degree. Now that kind of the industry has evolved a little bit, a lot more people are interested in the professionals or getting cybersecurity professionals. Now, there are programs and things like that. But I mean, that now informs your salary range, because when I started, it was like, you're a junior person, straight out of college, you know nothing about security. We can give you this opportunity. And there you go with like the most basic salary you can find, and I'm like, yes, to the opportunity. I'm like, let's go. Now people are like, will I get 6 figures if I start straight out of university? And I'm like, hey man, like take it easy, So yeah, it's a rife discussion. And I think it's always like a confusing and more like a convoluted topic for a space like security, because you have to be interested in security first and then worry about the money next, I would say, because the money is there, it will come, but you have to be interested first.
And you mentioned something very important about certifications. I think that's something that we can talk about more, about certifications as well.
Yeah.
What's your belief on certifications in terms of certifications versus experience or building skills? How do you pivot to that?
The answer for me on that one is quite simple. Skills will always trump certifications, in my view. Skills is what helps you to be able to do the job. So we have the saying of like, if I employ you, you need to be able to hit the ground running. I don't know if that's only a South Africa thing or anywhere else, but you need to be able to hit the ground running. And so the skills are what's going to make you be able to hit the ground running. And especially like a hiring manager is looking for the type of skills and experience you have. And I think it's also important to note that experience is not always paid working experience. Experience is what you have gained yourself by what you've built, kind of what you've pursued in a lab environment, in a cloud environment, building your own SIM on a VM. It doesn't matter. All of those things, knowing how to do that is really, really important when it comes to your employability. I would say that it doesn't make certifications irrelevant. I think if you've selected your certifications right at the right time that you want to do, then it is going to help you to become employable combined with skills. I would say you cannot only do certifications and just think, oh, hey, I'm going to get a job. Certifications combined with skills is going to get that for you. But I mean, in my personal experience throughout my journey of engineering, and like when I was the full-on security engineer, I did a lot of the vendor-based certifications, like whether it was like checkpoint firewalling or like 40-gate firewalling, whatever. I did all of those certifications. They helped to some extent, but where I really changed my career was stop focusing on vendor-based certifications at that point, and I just did one big certification, which was my CISSP, and that did actually help my career, especially in the South African market. In Europe, I don't know if that big of a deal, to be honest, but in the South African market, like having a CISSP is like quite a big deal. And so for me, that was the one that really changed it for me. But man, skills and experience over certs any day.
And I really love that what you're saying as well, because I also truly believe that if you are going to choose a certification, choose a certification that goes along with that particular career, right? And then from there, make sure you build the experience or skills that goes along with that certification. Because, for example, you will be tested on the knowledge. You will be tested on that in terms of, can you explain this? Why did you do this? What do you think is the difference between a TCP and, a UDP? If you can't explain such concept because you got dumps just to go write the CompTIA or Network Plus, it's going to be a problem as well, So have the backup as well to be able to explain what you've been doing and how you got there as well. And another thing, do not become a certification collector. That is something which is a no. A certification collector is wrong. get what's needed for that moment in time, even if you get one or two, but mostly build skills. As you were saying, I also truly believe in skills as well. Build the skills and then post on LinkedIn. Post your work. I think most of the time I've seen a lot of people on LinkedIn, and again, I'm not judging anybody, but it's great people are posting on LinkedIn, but I've not seen people posting about problems, that they face a particular problem before they got to that solution. Everybody's posting about success. For example, post about the problem that you had about if you're trying to set up a VM, what problem were you facing and how were you able to solve that? Because leaders are looking for people who are solutionists. And if you're a person who's a solutionist, they can see it and like, I see this person is not even afraid to admit that they were struggling with this, but they were able to figure it out as time went on. Because this shows persistence, and this also shows that you are a solutionist. So yeah, I actually feel like I'm interviewing you. Yeah.
No, I feel like this discussion is like, it's just so hectic because I was actually thinking now, based on what you said, I'm like, yes, let's dig into that, because I'm a huge advocate of when you're learning something, you need to post on LinkedIn, right? But rightfully, like you're saying, people do a lot of reshares, or people don't know how to post on LinkedIn, or they don't know what to post on LinkedIn. But in reality, like you're saying, and I absolutely love that, that's a phenomenal to anyone watching or listening, that if you're posting on LinkedIn, make it intentional about a problem that you've had, to really showcase your skill and showcase, firstly, your writing abilities of your problem, and then writing how you've solved the problem, and then stipulating your approach, right? Because those are all core skills, soft skills, and like actual skills that you're learning to be able to do the work. So I love that. I'm like, yeah, let's go into that. That's really good.
Yeah, I think it's all about personal branding when it comes to that as well. And I salute you on that as well. You've built a very incredible brand as well on platforms. And I think that's something where most people don't pivot on in terms of building personal branding with that. Because as you are showcasing your work on LinkedIn, you're basically building a brand. And when you're building a brand, because you have to learn that in cybersecurity, there's cybersecurity job, but you also have to build you, which is the brand. Because when a company hires you, they hire you as a brand. So you have to know how to stand out as you away from the company after you've gotten the experience. Because companies want to hire you for the person that you are and the brand that you bring to the company, because most companies are looking at that, the value that you're bringing into them, and how are you able to solve whatever problem or come up with solutions to what they bring to you. And that's what companies are looking for, as you were saying. Like, they want to see your writing skills. They want to see how frequently are you posting. Okay, this person is consistent, because posting is consistency. And that's something that we undermine as well. Are you able to take screenshots, which means you're able to use a computer very well, right? What have you been doing? They look at that as well. Sometimes, they don't look at, the technical stuff, because they know that most people are technical, but they also want to see if you're able to have good soft skills. And once you have good soft skills, I truly believe you'll stand out in this cybersecurity game, because most people are just sitting in the corner like, do not disturb me. I'm just a guy who's just going to be doing my thing, hacking it. Don't talk to me, please. And I think building soft skills really helps. It helps you pivot. I think for me personally, from what I've seen, it makes you pivot a bit faster in your career progress in cybersecurity. And yeah, I mean, you said you're an introvert, or are you still an introvert? Which I don't know.
You know what? Like I was just thinking now, and when you were saying about I'm a security person, technical person here in my corner, like I want to ask you more about the LinkedIn stuff, but just to answer this, when I first started, like when I had like my second job into security, I was working actually at Alexander Forbes. I was a junior security engineer, but I was the person who was making the firewall work. Right? I was the person like writing the rule sets, nothing flows if it doesn't come by me, meaning people have to talk to me. However, only later in life, probably like a year and a half down the line in that role, when I finally had made some friends, because yes, I am an introvert. So when I finally had made some friends, people told me, they're like, wow, we can't believe you're such a cool person, because like for the first year of you working here, we were so afraid to even speak to you, because you're just there in your corner and you're just gonna allow it or not allow it. And you're gonna send us 10 questions back, and like, we thought you're so mean and you're just sitting in your corner and all these things. And I realized that people didn't know me. People didn't know me as a person. I think personable person. I'm a vibe, I think so. But I am definitely still in kind of social settings and those things an introvert. However, the creator journey has empowered me to realize that I have a message to share and many people are interested in listening to that message. And it's allowed me to be able to open up, communicate, share, and those types of things and build my brand, which now I'm so proud of, like the brand that I've built and people actually being interested in me speaking to them, me speaking at the conferences, at the events and those types of things, which is really, really cool. But one thing I'm not very good at that I think you are really, really good at is LinkedIn. You have almost 10,000 followers and connections and people on LinkedIn. And I think you have a phenomenal brand on LinkedIn. So do you have some tips to the audience on what they can do if they are uncomfortable, or if, certain of their colleagues are connected with them on LinkedIn, like what can they do to kind of that helps them to get out of that uncomfortable space a little bit and build their brand on LinkedIn?
100%. That's actually a good question. I think it's all about being you, because most of the time we want to copy what somebody else is doing, right? We forget that some of us, we have our friends and our families on LinkedIn. So we have our friends and family most of the time on LinkedIn, or our work colleagues on LinkedIn. And you get that your work colleagues don't know who you are outside of work. They only know you as that particular person who goes into work, check in, go into lunch, come again, check out. They know that. But on LinkedIn, you're a different person where you can build a brand and tell people about you, who you are. I mean, there's different types of facts that you can do about yourself. Share your story, but make it interesting, make it conversational, make it engaging where people want to ask you questions as well. And again, share information, invite people which you want to see, which people you see yourself in, basically, right? For example, if you see yourself as a security engineer, start having and inviting security engineers. If you're still starting out, especially in cybersecurity, or you want to get into cybersecurity, I always advise people that don't have too many people who are also still trying to start out in cybersecurity in your LinkedIn, because now they're all sharing the same thing. How are you going to be able to learn information? So get people who look like you in the future, that you want to be like in the future. Invite those people. And then from there, once you start posting about the work that you're posting about, start inviting recruiters, start inviting talent managers, build a brand, learn how to use Canva. YouTube is for free. Learn how to use softwares like Canva. Canva is for free. YouTube is for free. Learn, teach yourself stuff. If you don't know something, Google search it. That's the first rule of cybersecurity. If you don't understand it, you don't know it, Google search it. Literally, just Google search it. Learn from that. Absorb as much information as you can. If you don't understand a word, learn to break it down. Like, okay, this is how it is. This is how I know this. And again, you can also use ChatGPT to help you with your content creation. If you know that you're not good in writing, you can use ChatGPT. Build your brand through that and be consistent in your brand. Don't try to pivot and be something that you're not. Be true to yourself and just be who you are. And don't be afraid to show people who you are as well. Because again, you don't want to be a copy and paste type of person where you're seeing somebody else doing the same thing and then you want to do it as well. Be you and just try to be relevant as much as possible. Because if, for example, I'm going to try to copy you, I'm like, Cyber Queen did this, she shot a video outside. I'm also going outside. I'm going to shoot that video. Don't do that. Literally be yourself. Ask yourself, okay, am I comfortable doing this? If not, okay, why not? What I always say and I tell myself every single time, and people don't know this about me, I was actually afraid to go into cybersecurity. I was actually afraid to post on LinkedIn. I was always afraid to shoot my first video on TikTok, right? I've been afraid. I'm always afraid every single time when I get called to come speak in conferences, all these things. But I've learned that do what you're most afraid to do. And that's where it's the right path. That's where doors are going to open. If you're scared to post, right? If you feel uncomfortable doing, that's the feeling that you're supposed to be getting. Uncomfortability, do it. And don't be scared. You've got people who can help you in your community, like me and you, and there's so many other creators as well I can mention. I mean, we both know as well so many other creators out there who are amazing and who are in cybersecurity. They can share their knowledge and information to you. And especially when you're building a LinkedIn brand, I would say also invite people from cybersecurity, but who are also doing different things in cybersecurity. So you can get to see what is that they're sharing, because most of the time you get that you only invite people who are security engineers. Why don't you invite architects? Invite somebody who's a researcher. Especially researchers, they share so much information about what's going on in cybersecurity, what's the new vulnerability in cybersecurity, and you can start pivoting and creating projects on that as well. But yeah, that is just my 2 cents.
Yeah, super, super insights. I feel like throughout this, I want to applaud or jump or something, because it's really, really honestly such phenomenal insights. And it's good to hear your experiences, you're so good at sharing, you're so good at your storytelling. But imagine if you were too afraid to start telling it to the world. Imagine if you were too afraid to start using your passion of storytelling and you didn't share it, I think imagine that would be so sad. So I also say that when you get that feeling in your chest, when I go and I have to go onto a conference stage, I'm literally there's a feeling in your chest, and then your heart starts beating, and then you have to regulate your breathing. That feeling is the feeling of growth. In my mind, psychologically, that's what I've programmed myself. It's the feeling of growth. And another funny story, on Instagram, when I first started, I only used to post Canva posts, right? So I would make the text and I would do Canva posts. And I said, if I hit 1,000 followers on Instagram, I will make a video. That's what I said. So I posted the images, and then it was actually fairly quickly. I think it was a month and a half or something. Then it was the first 1,000 followers, and I was like, wow, okay, I promised myself I'm going to make this video. And it wasn't even a video where I was talking. It was just this pointy video. But I put the phone down, and my son and my husband, they were standing in the kitchen, and I was like, I can't. I can't press post, it's not happening. And my husband, he just took the phone and he pressed post, and I was like, why would you do that? But it's that first one, it's that first step, that first one, and then it's really bad. And I leave that content on my platforms, even on my YouTube, everywhere, so that people who are afraid to share, they can go and see, and you can go back to my first videos and you can see it's really bad. Well, now compared to where I am now, the confidence and how I'm able to speak now and things, it's been a journey of growth. And I feel like that's what security even is like. You start somewhere, it's really bad, you don't understand anything, and you really have to grow and work little by little every single day to get better, and you will gain so many new skills, soft skills, technical skills, people skills, all these skills throughout this industry. It really is a phenomenal space to be, but you have to be willing to make the move and regulate your breathing, let your chest pump. It's okay. Recognize the feeling of growth.
And that's very true as well, because if you don't start, you will never find out. And for me, I have a goal. I've told myself that I don't want to reach the age of 60 saying to myself, I wish I could have, because I've sat down and on my personal level, I've spoken to people who are 60, 65, and I've always asked them every time, and even the places that I've worked at, and I've asked them all the time, I'm like, what is your one regret that you regret? And also, what advice would you give to your younger self if you had a magic phone right now? All of them tell me the same thing. I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have been braver to be able to do this. And then during my time, we didn't have this, but I wish I could have done what you're doing at this current moment, but I was scared now. And that's the thing. Do it afraid. Do it shaking. And people don't know this. I was not very articulate when it comes to talking. I used to mumble and fumble all the time. But because I told myself that I want to become the greatest speaker ever, I practice every day. I watch YouTube videos every day as well, and that, I'm not saying I'm the greatest currently right now, but I want to be, and I will be the greatest, especially in our industry. That's where I'm trying to pivot at this current moment.
I love that. And I'm on the journey speaking with you now. So I'm there with you. When you're there, I'll be like, yeah, I already spoke with him. It's fine. Okay, so let's go a little bit left field here. So let's backtrack a little bit to the certification discussion here, right? So currently, there are so many entry level or beginner level certifications, right? And if we look specifically at the ISC certified in cybersecurity one, ISC has got their program of 1 million people into security in the next year or year and a half. I'm not sure how long it's running. But what is your take on this certification? What is your take on the entry-level certifications that's been up and coming in the last kind of 2 years, I would say, but more specifically this program and this organization and this certification?
That's actually a great question, because the ISC2 Square, I think it's important that people should start doing research first before they take certification, because you don't want to be confused when you get there and you're doing it because you think it's going to get you that particular job or it's going to get you in the room with the recruiter. Now, we need to understand a step back. The ISC2 Squared, what's the purpose for that certification? The purpose for that certification is to prepare somebody who's been in cybersecurity for 5 years for a CISSP. That's what that certification was created for. It's meant for that. And I've seen a lot of beginners writing and doing that certification. Now, it's going to end up raising a lot of concerns and questions. And I'm not saying that people have done it that are wrong who are beginners, but what I'm saying is that it will raise a lot of questions which you also have to be able to answer. For example, they're going to ask you about the domains of cybersecurity, and you get that you've never worked in cybersecurity. How are you going to be able to explain it? Because now you don't have security dumps, and you are sitting straightforward with the hiring manager, you're sitting straightforward with the SOC manager, and they're like, we see that you've got the ISC2 Square. And to us, it shows us that you are very knowledgeable. Do you mind explaining, the business continuity? Do you mind telling us about the software continuity of cybersecurity? Do you mind telling us about all these 7 domains in cybersecurity? How are you going to be able to explain them? And that's something that people should be very aware of not just doing a certification because somebody else is doing it, right? Do it once you get an experience on that and you know that you're pivoting to obviously jumping into cybersecurity. But the ISC2 Squared, again, it prepares you for the CISSP. And if you do get the ISC2 Squared, it's fine. And most people, I've seen people who are getting the CISSP, which I don't know how, because you have to get a reference from somebody or somebody has to recommend you. But I actually seen people getting it as well. And again, that also raises a lot of questions. And again, in IC2 Squared, when you do get a IC2 Squared, you're not certified. I don't know if people have read the contract. You are now known as an associate because you don't have any experience in cybersecurity. So you're just known as an associate. But for somebody who's got cybersecurity experience and they get that certification, you are obviously certified. But if you don't have any cybersecurity experience, you are known as an associate. So I think reading those small stuff, fine print that we always skip, it's very important. And doing as much research as you can, very important. Get into communities like your Reddit. You can ask those questions, like you can literally just type the question like, is the IC2 Squared relevant for me to get? And a good friend of mine said this, I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. And somebody was asking it in the community group that I'm in the cybersecurity community group. And this person was like, should I get the IS2 Square? And the friend of mine was like, why? And this person couldn't answer. I was like, because I want to get a job in cybersecurity. It was like, don't do useless things if you know that it's not going to benefit you. What does it prepare you for? This person was like, just to get me a job. It's like, it's not going to get you a job. It's not going to even get you face to face with the recruiter, because it's just going to raise questions like, oh, they've got this. Okay. Next, what experience do you have? Nothing. Okay. You see, so try to back it up at least with experience. If you already got it, at least build labs, do something as well to back up some of the domains for yourself and understand how the domains work. You don't have to have experience in the domains, but understand how each domain works. And if they are going to ask you about why did you get this, you have to be able to answer and know why did you get it, So that's my answer to that. But what do you think about that?
I think you raised a couple of really, really valid points. So firstly, I have a gripe with people who convolute cybersecurity credentials, like well-respected credentials, because they have a friend that can endorse them for a CISSP, or because they're just brain dumping the type of the exams, which I think CISSP is a hard one to brain dump, but I mean, you don't know. But from an endorsement per se, I think that you really don't know what harm you're doing to the industry, because then the integrity of the certification and the credentials for many professionals who have actually done the work, who actually have the experience, the integrity comes into question, right? And then you're lowering the value of the certification. So for those who don't know, that is the issue with people getting and obtaining credentials that they didn't earn and they're not really qualified for in terms of doing the job. So I think that's I have a big gripe with that one day. I mean, from my perspective, I did my CISSP when I was already in the industry for around 5-6-ish years. And it was still such a tough certification. Having worked in the industry, having worked in multiple domains, it was still an incredibly difficult certification to do. So I don't know how someone is doing the CISSP as the first one without this kind of knowledge and working experience. That would be a really tough thing in my view. In terms of the certified in cybersecurity one, I think why that you mentioned, why do you want it? It's like even me asking people in my community, okay, you want to get an entry-level certification or you want to get 3. Why? What do you mean you want to get 3? What's the purpose of having 3 certifications at the same level? It doesn't matter that you have all these acronyms. That don't matter. Like, you can't do anything. What can you do is the reality. So I think for people who want to baseline that as their primary foundational certification, that's okay to do. Nothing against it. I see well respected, all those things. However, if you don't back that up with the skills and experience, it means nothing.
I actually have a question for you. And this question, for me, I've seen it. I think I'll answer obviously after you answer this one. What's your thoughts on boot camps?
Oh, I don't like them. That's very simple for me.
Oh, V.
To be honest, boot camps are sold as this thing that's going to give you the essential amount of skills in a very short time for a very high cost, right? The reason why it's a no from me is because it takes time to learn the skills that you have to know. Like those 3 months or 6 months, it doesn't cut it. Like a lot of the information is just going to fly over your head. You're really not going to know what happened in your bootcamp. Bootcamp should be the labs you build yourself, to be honest, or the work you do in the workplace once you get the job. That's your real bootcamp, because that's where you're going in, like you're going in hard and you're pushing and you're gaining the skills on the job. But yeah, no go from me.
Yes, I love the fact that you said it's short-term success, basically what they're selling as well. And I've seen that, the short-term success that they're selling as well. And I think a great friend of mine said that if something they say that it's going to make you successful in a short term, leave. And if they say they want to get you a job, that's impossible. Like pivoting right now, in terms of right now, a lot of people are struggling to get a job. And how are they going to get you a job? And then there's something that people should be very careful. And my advice to people, again, since we're on this, is that always do research before you pay for something, before you pay for that particular institution or whatever you're going to be paying for. Do your research, find out how relevant or qualified this thing is. Will it be able to help you as well? If not, then don't invest your money in it as well. But I think since we are on this, there's somebody which a couple of years back, there's somebody which I wanted him to teach me something in cybersecurity. I met him, and because I was using his time and I called him for lunch, and I mean, this person is a very big person, but they're not in social media in cybersecurity. They're a purple teamer, and I admired that person so much, and I called him for lunch and all these things. And after that, I had like 1,000 Rand. I gave him 1,000 Rand. I was like, thank you so much for your time, and here's the money I'm giving you for just your time. And do you know what this person said? He was like, no, I don't want your money. I know I said I'm going to charge you for consultation, but I'm not going to charge you because I could see the hunger that you have and you were willing to pay, which shows me that you were willing to get the information. And most people are not willing to get information to relevant sources. And that person, I mean, he's been around for a while, and it's a person who knows the do's and the don'ts. And there was a question I wanted to ask you, but I forgot. It ran away, but it will come back.
But is it about people always wanting free stuff, right? Because I see this a lot, that people always want the free training, the free education, the free things. And my thoughts on this is, while there's a lot of things that are free for sure and valuable things that are free, you are also going to have to at some point invest in your journey. And in order to obtain some of the skills and some of the credentials or some of the coaching or mentorship or something, I'm not saying you must go and pay like a hectic price for a coach or a mentor or something. I'm not saying that at all, but you must be willing to invest in your journey, because that's where you go now from tier 1, you're going to go to tier 2, then maybe you're going to get into the workplace, and then maybe you'll have the organization also sponsor some of your education. But even if they don't, you must be willing to invest in your journey, like use your money and invest in your journey, because you are gaining from someone, from an organization, from a program, whatever you're doing, you're also gaining that knowledge. So I also see there's a lot of this of like only focus on free. However, while many authentic professionals and creators are trying to give a lot of things to communities and people for free, it's not always the most feasible, like it's not like a platform like Try Hack Me or TCM Security or something like that. They're trying to make the education as accessible as possible, but everything can't be free. It costs money for people to spend their time and make courses. It costs money for infrastructure. It's time, it's money, it's effort, it's all those things. So everything can't be for free, right? So, yeah.
And that's true. That's true. That you're actually right, because also, even paying somebody for consultation as well, it's their time. You are taking their time, because they could be using that time, that particular individual which you want to pay for consultation. Remember, they are an individual where they could be using their time in a conference or somewhere, and you are paying for their time. So they're canceling that meeting or canceling work short just to have time with you, so they can give you advice on that particular thing. That's very important. I think people to invest back to themselves with wherever they can. That's very important, because the best investment, as a saying would say, the best investment you can make is within yourself. So spending money on yourself, look at it in that way. Like 3-year goal, you have to look back like, I've done this. This is the thing. Yes. And here's my question. In cybersecurity right now, there's a huge skill gap. We know that, right? And a lot of people and a lot of individuals are struggling to get jobs. What do you think is the matter or is the problem? Where do you think we are going wrong?
So firstly, the skills gap is there. If for professionals who work in cybersecurity, we know we don't have enough people to do the work. We are double hatting or triple hatting. We're burning out. There's not enough people. However, what I think happened in recent times is that the skill level requirement in security is going up and up and up. So as the landscape has evolved, as technology has evolved, etc., the skill level requirement might not be as baseline as it was initially, where you could only do one thing and then suddenly pivot in and start doing the work. A little bit more is required. It's more than just gaining your certification like we spoke about. It is about getting experience, showing initiative, showing kind of the persistence, consistency that you are learning, you are on this journey. And then it's also about trying to apply intentionally for jobs when you have gained certain skills. Because I don't want to say when you are ready, because then there's the whole female landscape that never feels ready, right? So it's not about when you are ready or when you feel ready, but when you have obtained some of the skills required for the job, at least 30 to 40% of the skills required, then you have to start and intentionally apply for jobs. One thing I've also seen is that the demand for mid-level skill has increased. But in our world, the mid-level skill is actually entry level when you are in the industry, right? Like entry level for us has always been someone who has maybe no experience. Like they just worked on computers for a little bit and then they moved in. That's kind of the entry level. Mid-level is now people who may have done their formal education, then they added a certification, then they did some skills. That's a mid-level person. That's a person who can do mid-level work, and people are not applying there. People are all applying for kind of the saturated level of entry level, or saturated in inverted commas here, because it's not that saturated, but there's too many applicants for the same job types. And people are not specific. There's too many generic applications. And hey, I just have generic knowledge. What is the role that you're targeting? If I employ you, what is it that I'm employing you for? What skills do you have that's going to help me today? If I hire you today, are you an analyst? Can you do threat hunting? Are you a pen tester? Are you into threat intelligence? Do you have skills in threat intelligence? Where must I hire you? Are you focused on cloud security? Like, what is it that I must hire you for? It's not generic. It is actually more focused and it is actually more specific in my experience. And I think the final thing here is also that we must remember that as the technology landscape has evolved, the requirements have shifted. There is a higher demand for cloud security professionals, as an example. There's a higher demand for people who are in the governance space, risk, compliance, data protection, looking at the frameworks, regulations. There's a much higher risks in that space, and it's going to continue evolving even more. So now it's about taking the professionals that you have here and like maybe moving them towards where the threat landscape is going, or looking for external professionals who have those skills. And then people with those skills are few and far between because people are only focusing on generic skills. So that's why there's actually a gap in finding the right people. It's not a myth. There really is a demand, but it's about finding the right people.
Yeah, there is a huge skill gap. I totally agree with you because sometimes we wear too many hats in one company and that becomes very heavy. I've seen people quit because of that, because they can't handle it so many times. I've seen companies advertise a job, which is normal. And when you get there, you're like, okay, you're a security engineer, you're a pen tester, you're vulnerability management, you're also a network engineer, and you're also an architect as well. And the person's like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. I only signed up to be a security engineer just to do one thing. It's something which I've seen a lot of security engineers or people in the industry complain about, because there's so many roles and so many things that where sometimes you get that some people are applying for jobs obviously in the wrong way, or either they're also not tailoring their resume in the right way, because sometimes you get that you do have the right projects, you do have the right certifications, but you haven't tailored your resume according to the job spec, or you haven't specified certain tools that they're currently looking for in that particular company as well, which is very important as well. So yeah.
Yeah, agree. So then let me ask you this. So if you were to start again in security today, what would that look like? How would you approach it?
That's a good question. So I would start first by learning IT fundamentals. Very important. I think you have to learn and understand how an operating system works, whether you have to learn about, I would start learning about how the internet works as well. And that's the first thing I'll start learning how IT infrastructure works from the basis as well. So I would take free courses from your IBM, IT fundamentals, and then TCM also launched a new help desk course to give me experience on that. So to obviously build projects for my resume, I'll do that as well. And I'll take it a step further. I would invest in a Udemy course as well on IT and infrastructure, learn more about the infrastructure side of things. And then after that, I would jump into networking. I know what route I want to take, which is I want to work for example, as a SOC analyst, right? That's my route. So I have to learn how networking is. By me learning networking, it makes it easy for me to be able to understand about how the internet operates, right? I'll be able to identify what is an IP address. That will make it easy for me to be able to learn all these things. I'll be able to learn in terms of infiltration, all these things by just learning networking, because everything is more networking. Then from there, I would jump by learning, obviously, security, which is your CompTIA. If for example, I can't afford a CompTIA Security Plus, again, I would invest in Udemy in the current moment that I have, spend money on Udemy, watch YouTube. Professor Mesa has amazing free courses on YouTube. I'll watch Professor Mesa and absorb as much information as I can. From after absorbing that, I would set up and spin up a VM, which is a virtual machine. If my laptop, for example, does not provide or doesn't have space for a VM, I would definitely use what I have during that moment in time, which is you can register on Microsoft and use the virtual machine from Azure. So I would use the free virtual machine, which is for 7 days. I would use as much time as I can to gain as much experience from that as well. And then from there, I would speak and reach out to people in cybersecurity. I would ask them 2 questions. Hi, how are you? I want to jump into cybersecurity. What is the 2 things do you think I need to learn for me to get into cybersecurity? And another one is, what is that you wish you've learned before you got into cybersecurity? Then I'll go back to learn that. I'll go back to my drawing board. Then I'll ask them, hi. I'll go back again. Once I've learned that, I'll be like, hi, I've learned this. I just wanted to find out, how do you guys do investigations? They'll tell me, go back, learn how logs work. Because everything works through logs. Everything works through communication of logs. I will understand that, build that. I'll use Let's Defend, places like that, to be able, the free course from Let's Defend. Use as much resources as I can. If I can afford it, I would pay for, just testing out maybe for 1 month and see how it works for me. If it does work for me, I'll continue paying for it to build my project. I'll take screenshots, document my work, put it in the proper documentation, and then probably put it on Dropbox. Make sure that I put the link on my LinkedIn. I would watch a lot of marketing and branding videos on LinkedIn, how to brand your YouTube, learn marketing from there and how to market myself. Now, this is where I want to stand out and be different. So I would do that and stand out and be different. I would learn that, brand myself, and then from there, I would learn how to become a creative writer. Learn to become a creative writer. I'll watch a course, maybe an hour course on that. And then from there, utilize ChatGPT because I've learned the marketing skills. Now I've also learned the writing skills. I've used and prompt ChatGPT to my advantage the way I want to post my work and post my documentation, and people can see what I'm doing and currently doing. And to that, every single time a researcher would post something, I would learn about that, is utilize that to my advantage in terms of, okay, what do I think can help me with? And okay, will it benefit me as well? And just start reaching out to recruiters. Very important. And also I'll reach out to, CISOs as well. I'll reach out to security engineers. I'll reach out to event organizers. If there's an event, start volunteering. I would volunteer in those particular events, even if it means I don't have to pay. If they say I have to pay, for example, like your B-sides, I will make sure that I get a part-time job just for me to be there, no matter what, just for me to be there. And once I'm in there, I would make sure, this is the craziest thing, I will print a t-shirt which will get me the attention that I need. And that's the thing. I'll carry my work with me. And when I introduce myself, I would tell them, hey man, I carry my dream with me everywhere I go. And that's going to raise a lot of questions to them. What? You carry your dream everywhere I go? I'm like, yep, this is my work. I've printed it out. Please have a look at it whenever you get time. You become that memorable person that will never forget you. And you will stay there. So I would do that. That's how I would pivot in the game in a much more different sense. And I would just continue grinding and just learning every day until the job comes. And because I won't be too much focused on, I'm trying to get the job now, I think focusing on building the skills, the job will come. Because if you too focus on getting the job, you won't get the job. What you usually focus on most of the time, you won't get. So don't focus on it. Focus on something else so you can be able to grow the skill. So I will grow the skill. I would grow the knowledge as much as I can. And I would reach out again to the particular individuals which I've been reaching out, because every time we're always reaching out to CISOs and all these people, but I'll reach out also to security engineers, to SOC people. I'm like, hey, would you mind meeting out for coffee? Ask you a few things. Don't worry, coffee's on me. And just spending a few bucks and just understanding where they come from, how the environment is. And you may never know, this person might put in a good word for you as well. And ask them, do you mind if I can put you on as my reference, as my mentor, if something comes up? And I would do that. I would definitely do that. So that's how I would definitely do the journey. That's actually a good question. How would you go about it?
That, firstly, I will comment on that. That is like the roadmap that people didn't know they needed. That's the first thing. The second thing is that's so dynamic. So many words stood out to me. It's like specific, targeted. You are persistent. It's taking a different approach, being creative and unique. And then it is about really stepping outside of yourself and putting yourself out there to be memorable, right? Because rightfully, like you're saying, when you make connections especially with security people, in most countries around the world, the security community is small and close-knit. People know people, people remember people. And so when you make those connections and you invite someone for the coffee that's on you, or you go to something like B-Sides, which is smaller and close because maybe you have to pay to join or attend. When you go to that and you make an impact and you stand out, you're remembered, right? And you are the one that people are looking for. Like, I want to hire that guy that was there with the t-shirt because, we had a great conversation. He's so interested, so persistent. Like, we need people. And then it comes about like they're hiring you for your attitude, your aptitude, your mentality. They just believe in you as a person. And so therefore it must be that the skills come with you, so definitely, I'm like blown away by that. Like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, that's really, really good.
Thank you. I always think about it because I always tell people that don't try to get into the game the way everybody's trying to do it. Like, think about it, that everybody's trying to get the same position, but nobody's ever thinking about that there's actually a career in cybersecurity where it's called a researcher. Where, yes, you want to become and work in the SOC or you want to become an architecture. What about becoming a cybersecurity researcher? Remember, people forget that once you get in cybersecurity, it's easy for you to pivot to a different career once you're in there. Because now this is where you can ask them, hey guys, I've worked, for this amount of time can I now jump in to become that? They'll be like, oh, perfect. Yeah, sure. Because we've seen the work ethic that you're producing. Now you can jump into that. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's about that first step and that first starting point. That's also what I tell people, that when you make your way into the industry, from there you can pivot, you can change, you can explore other things, shadow other teams, learn new skills. It's just about getting that first person to believe in you, but not only to believe in you, to hire you because you have the skills to be able to do the work, right? I think for me, the journey looks very different based on my personality maybe. So for me, I'm an extremely analytical person. So what I would probably do is to firstly identify the biggest problem areas in security. So identify what are there so many jobs for that I can see people are not applying to. That's the first thing. So I would start like the first point with research, like where I live, like who do people want to hire in security? What skills do they have? Is it a job skill type that I might be interested in? But then I would also, I think, before that, I would want to know, okay, I would want to be a technical person, or maybe in the middle where you're like a technical advisor type person, or I would not like to be technical at all, right? And that would inform my job analysis that I do. Then from there, I would narrow it down and I would start looking on this really cool, I think it's a 45-minute video on Cybersecurity, which is also free, that where they explain the different roles and domains in cybersecurity and the different job options that there are. So then from there, like from narrowing down my research based on what's high in demand, like where I live, things that I would be interested in, I'd probably watch that video and figure out, okay, what do I like the most out of this? And then maybe narrow it down to one or two specific roles or job families. You know, does it fit in the SOC? Does it fit in threat intel? Does it fit in the cloud? Is it in engineering? Is it in analysis? You know, like narrow it down into one specific grouping. And then from there, I would do targeted education. So very, very targeted in terms of if I want to move into the cloud, I would choose one provider to focus on. And then I would gain skills. Like, I mean, I will like register my tenant, my subscription. I would deploy VMs in there, put them in a VNet, secure them with a firewall, you know, or with NSGs, and then try to see if I can move from this one to that one. And while I'm going, I will document all of this because that will be important for me. From there, I would probably start connecting with people on LinkedIn. So I would document my journey. I would put kind of the project that I did for that day or the deployment that I did for that day on LinkedIn in a very specific way in terms of what I tried to do, what I was then able to do, and what problem it addresses, right? So that kind of way I would put it on. And then, from there I would connect with many more people. I will now use your strategy to connect with people in terms of offering them a coffee. Now that I've learned that one, that's a great strategy. Yeah, but from there, I would just kind of put this as skills on my CV. Then I would aim to get some of the cloud security certifications for the provider that I'm working in. And then I would target organizations that I know I have now researched and I know that they use AWS or I know that they use Azure, right? And I know that they are looking for these skills. It would be very, very targeted to be like, I'm applying for this job because I'm an Azure certified security professional. I have these skills, I'm the right candidate for the job because of these reasons. So that's how it would probably be very analytical, strategic, and focused. Yeah.
Sure, that was keen. Yo, especially the last part when you said that you would do as much research as you can about the particular company when it comes to targeting that particular company. So that for me, I think a lot of individuals don't do that. And that's something which I've actually overlooked as well in terms of most people don't do that because you get that we do vendor certifications and everybody wants to do the cloud vendor certifications. You get that everybody wants to do Azure, AWS, GCP, and you can't get all three because now it will raise questions as well. But amazing. Proper. You've laid it down.
Yeah.
Well done, V.
Yeah, we're doing this. We can start again. We've got it. So let me ask you this because you and I can talk like the whole day here. But let me ask you this. So what does Mr. Fingers want to be most known for and most remembered for?
Good question. That's the thing which I started off before I even started creating content as well. I want to be remembered for making an impact and changing people's lives. That is literally, I want to be remembered just making an impact and changing people's lives. Where somebody can come back and be like, you've really changed my life and you've really made me see a different side of life or different side of careers as well. Thank you so much. And for me, that's how much of an impact I want to make in somebody's life. And do that obviously with the content that we create, with the resources that I provide as well. And also with the information that I share with people. And most of the time trying to tailor it according to different people who are from different ethnicity, who are from different countries and all these things. So impact and just changing people's lives.
Phenomenal. And now that you've worked in the industry for a long time and you now have moved into the leadership space with your new role, do you think cybersecurity is hard? What would you say to a person that thinks they're not smart enough for cybersecurity or they think it's too hard? What would you say to them?
Hey, listen, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'll tell you that. First of all, hit that, right? But I truly believe that I'm the hardest working person in the room. Put me in the room where you can find all the people which that are very good in what they do, and make sure that I shadow those people. So that's one skill which I've learned. So for somebody who's saying cybersecurity is hard, here's my advice to you, right? Never ever try to associate yourself with people who are in the same level as you, because you're never going to grow. Always try to associate yourself with people who are more advanced than you, because you get to learn faster when you do that, right? And even if by association, sometimes you get that you can't associate with that person because they're too far away. No, you're wrong. We've got LinkedIn now, we've got YouTube now, so you can still associate yourself with such people. So technology has made it possible for us to be able to associate ourselves with certain people. Like, I'm able to associate myself with you, but I haven't met you face to face. And that's what technology has done. It has brought us all together doing that.
Awesome. Amazing. And we have to change this face-to-face thing very soon. I will
For
add
real.
that day. We have to change it.
You're coming home soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. Can't wait. So, and then maybe a final question here. So what is next for Mr. Fingers? What are the big things we have to look out for? I know you just started your brand new role, which is massive, but I mean, what are the big things across the board that we need to know about, that we need to look out for?
100%. So I think big things that you need to watch out for. I'm trying to obviously build the Mr. Fingers brand, that cybersecurity brand. And there's something which I'm trying to make happen for people. I'm currently building on, which I won't mention now. And it's big, it's amazing, and it's going to change a lot of people's lives, individuals, especially who are starting out in cybersecurity, and to help them with the skills gap, to help those who are not coming from a technical background as well. I'm currently building something which is much more greater and bigger than you and I. That's what I'm building. And the next big step for Mr. Fingers right now is continue making impact and changing people's lives, and also making content available and resources available, building a solid community where people can ask all the questions that they want as well, and directing them to the right path and the right way, giving them relevant and true information. So yeah, that is the big plan.
Now I can't wait. I'm going to ping you offline and get inside information about the big plan. I must tell you. So maybe I will sell it to someone. No, I'm joking. I love that. Okay, so where do people find you? I mean, I have you on every single platform, but let everyone know where they can find you.
100%. So on LinkedIn, it's Bikokobetso. It's a huge name, I know. It's BOIKOKOBETSO. So just search for Bikokobetso. You'll find me there. You'll see me and you'll find me. And then on TikTok, it's Mr. Fingers 92. So Mr. Fingers, you find me then. On Instagram, it's Mr. Fingers, that cybersecurity guy. Or you can search that cybersecurity guy, and then you'll find me there as well. And as for Facebook, yeah, it's for next time.
You and me both, yeah. Yeah.
On Dragon Ball Z.
Perfect. Listen, I mean, I think we could speak all day. So maybe we have to make this happen again, genuinely. I've loved speaking to you today. Thank you so much for joining and for sharing so many phenomenal insights. I think it's truly inspiring, and at least like for the South African cybersecurity community, I can tell you, like, you're making a massive impact. And not only in South Africa, like globally. I mean, your audience really is around the world. You're speaking to so many people around the world, and you are impacting people, and you are serving your mission and your purpose to impact more people and to make a difference. So really kudos to you. I feel privileged to have had you on the episode today and to have chatted with you. So thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I am proud and I'm super, I'm proud of you. Number one, can I say that? And thank you for having me as your guest. And again, a lot of people don't know this, but probably you don't know this as well. You really inspire me, and I really look up to you as well.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. This is Cybersecurity Uncomplicated, and I'm your host, Cyber Queen.